All right, cool. Did something.
Nice.
Okay. Pause that for a second. All right, quick disclaimer. Those of you who have not been here before, you don't know who I am. My name is Rich Rice, by the way. I founded this place a couple years ago. But there's a couple quick disclaimers and announcements I'm going to go through before we get up our speakers. Okay, so one, we are being pretty much anybody on stage. Nobody here is professionals. We're not lawyers or tax professionals or anything like that, unless somebody gets up here and says that they are. Okay, so everything here in this room or on Zoom or whatever is educational purposes only. Okay. If you hear something and you want to invest, I recommend you talk to your tax professionals, your lawyers, your whoever, before you go diving into any contracts. Okay. Also, a notice that if you didn't notice, there's a lot of cameras everywhere. Yes, they are on. Yes, they are recording. If you're not supposed to be here, there's a dead spot back there by the fridge, or there's some sunglasses and hats and stuff in the front here that you need to be hiding. Okay, but pretty much everybody is on camera in here when you're in here. Okay, we record it, we put it up on YouTube, all that stuff. Speaking of YouTube, for the past year, I've been uploading all of these recordings in full to YouTube. There's like 430 videos on the Fire Center's YouTube. Okay, starting as of 2 weeks ago, these videos will only go up for the first 40 minutes. Okay, so then after that, you got to be a member to get access to the full video, which is in the IRIC portal that I've been working on. Okay, so that is coming very soon, where that portal is going to be like launched in completion or in full to everybody. I've been testing it out over the last couple of months. Okay, so it's coming. And if you're not familiar with this, some of our Fire Fast people at the beginning of the year saw this more often. If you were in my AU class earlier, you saw it or seen it over the last few weeks. We updated this. It's called the Fire Code. It's basically what guides us here at the Fire Center. Okay, so I'm not going to read through all this, but you can. It's on the website if you want. It's all about that. We're about collaboration here. Okay, not competition. So we're trying to lift each other up, get better, learn from each other, help each other out, and hopefully become better people and better investors. Okay. With that being said, all of the tools that we teach you in here are used to be used as a privilege, not a weapon. Okay. I'm not trying to teach you how to screw people over. I'm trying to teach you how to be healthy. Same with everybody else on this stage. Okay. If you are going to use this, or your intent is sitting here going, "Oh, I have this like little old lady. I could go like use this and like steal her house from her." Get out. Okay. That's not what we're trying to do. So keep that in mind. Again, if you want to read that on your own, and keep in mind too at the very bottom of that, this community is not that big. Okay, there are not that many people out here, especially in Southern California and the country, that are doing what we do here, doing it well. Okay, so your reputation is honestly your greatest asset. So if you borrow money and you make your payments on time, that's going to get known. If you don't make your payments on time, that's going to get known also. If somebody calls you and talks about a deal, or there's upfront with you about information, that doesn't mean go around them, call the agent, or call somebody to try and steal that deal from them. And it's a good way to quickly ruin your reputation. Okay, so protect it. We have some great vendors in the room. If you're a vendor, please stand up. Oh. Up. Let's give them a round of applause. Our solar and security vendor, so he does all kinds of solar and security. He also just did a presentation here a couple weeks ago about how you can use solar to fund your rehabs, do all kinds of cool stuff as investors. So that I think we posted on the Facebook group, right? So check that out. Or if you want to get a hold of Lee, and Caitlin over here is our insurance vendor, and she does everything with insurance from properties and all kinds of stuff, life insurance. If you have any insurance questions, talk to Caitlin. And also all of our other vendors up here, brokers, kitchen cabinets, escrow companies. All we ask is that you give them a chance to earn your business first before you go elsewhere. So go to the website, go to vendors, or scan that code. Again, you should check them out. And if you're interested in becoming a vendor, I'll talk to you, okay? Topics for the month for IRIC. So we're trying to get these up a lot faster and a lot better system here so that you know what's coming, okay? Probably helps you plan your life and ours. Yeah. So this is what's coming up this month. If you want to take a picture of that slide, it's also in the Facebook group. It's in the portal. It'll be in the new portal. All that kind of stuff. It's also on IRIC's website. Okay. quick note on IRIC's website. So you'll notice it now says .com at the end of that. Okay, the new website for IRIC is .com. Okay, if you were a member prior to August 1st, you still want to access your member account, that was your IRIC account, still go to IRIC.org. Okay, there's a link in there that you can access that. Okay, from moving forward to .com, and everything's going to be in the new portal, and I'll send out an email when that's all ready. Okay, but if you're looking for like the old exchanger files and stuff like that, it's on the .org website. Okay, who likes Halloween? Woo! I do too. Okay. So just these three. So we're doing a costume party at the end of the month. So this month has 5 Wednesdays in it. 5 Wednesdays, for those of you that are new, means that on the 5th Wednesday on the months that have them, I think it's pretty much quarterly, we do a what we call tri-building. It's basically our quarterly networking event. We clear out all the tables, we put up high tops. It's the one time we bring in and have a bartender. So for those of you that can't, have a hard time talking to people without having liquor in their system, there you go. So it's gonna be a nice big party. We usually have like, I don't know, 70, 80 people here. So we do a couple rounds of networking. We're also gonna do a costume party. So as a part of that giveaway for the costume, best costume, we're gonna figure out how we're gonna vote that still, but we're gonna do a costume giveaway, or a party, a giveaway for the best costume that everyone's gonna vote on. Get a ticket to the Love on Wheels class that I'm gonna talk about at the end of the presentation. Okay? And which is that. So I won't go into it. I'll take that for the end. So with that, Farrah, you coming up, or am I going straight to Adrian? All right. So for those of you that don't know who Adrian is, I won't steal his thunder and introduce him too much of it. But I love this guy. I've met him multiple times. He's been all over the country. He teaches mobile homes. He's got a book on Amazon. He's got a really cool system, an interesting system for marketing, which I'm sure he'll talk about a little bit tonight. So let's give Adrian Smude a big round of applause.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks for having me. Tonight, I'm going to go over a few things on mobile homes and answer questions as we go. I feel like I know your group, even though I haven't been to the group before, because I know so many people at it. But if you have questions, I know everyone that's on Zoom is a little bit easier, but the people in person, if you have questions on where we're at right then at the slides, ask me. Obviously, we're not going to go super deep into it, but I like some interaction. That's how I learn better. So that's how I believe most people will. All right, so let's get started with this question. Why would you sell a nice home like this? Hopefully everyone there knows the investor that teaches us to ask this question, because I remember right, he was in the club not too long ago. So who always teaches us to ask this question? Why would you sell a nice home like this? Exactly, Pete Fortunato. And I believe he asked us that because, well, we need to be able to solve the problem. We are problem solvers. And it's really hard to solve a problem if we don't know what the problem really is. If we just say, hey, here's your cash offer, that doesn't solve everyone's problem. But why would I sell a nice home like this? The appraised $200,000. Now, I'm going to go over some numbers and case studies. You have to remember, I'm in Florida. So if the numbers look too low, add a 0 or maybe 2 or 3 for out there. So it appraised basically $200,000. It had good bank financing. And most importantly, it cash flowed $386 a month net. So why would I sell a nice home like this? Any guesses?
You have a bank mortgage.
Say it again.
You have institutional financing.
At that time, I was not against institutional financing. Today, I am. I didn't understand enough back then. That's a good one, but it was not the reason I sold this house. Any other guesses?
Was it in your target area?
It was actually in the target area. It still is. All right. Well, I'm going to
You sold that house in order to buy a whole bunch of mobile homes.
Yes, I don't know who that is because the screen's not changing, but you're exactly right. To buy mobile homes. So I sold the one to buy these 7 mobile homes. I did a 1031 exchange. If you're not familiar with that, the short answer of the 1031 exchange is I deferred paying the taxes to a later date. These are 7 individual mobile homes. They're a real estate transaction. I bought the home and land, 7 different parcels, 7 different owners, 7 different sellers. So it's individual units with the land. Sold 1, bought 7. And we spent about $174,000. So quick math says we took some of that money and spent it. Because I believe in enjoying the journey. Yes, there was a little bit of time that I just snowballed everything, but I believe that we should at least go to a nice dinner, go on vacation, do something to spend some of the money, because we don't know how long we have through this journey. And the reward system, is helpful. And then we had to spend some money to rehab them. $50,000 to rehab all 70 of these to get them rent ready, including the one that has that dumpster there. That one had in the very top corner. That was most of the rehab. But that is not why I sold the one to buy these 7. It was a new net cash flow of $3,300 a month.
Yes.
So we could have the house at $4,600 a year, or 7 mobile homes at almost $40,000 a year. I don't know about all of you, but I'm going to pick 857% more cash flow. Cash flow is one of the big reasons I invest in mobile homes. It's actually the first reason that got me addicted to mobile homes. Now there's lots of other reasons I enjoy mobile homes. They're recession resistant. There's not as much competition. But the cash flow is really what originally got me hooked on mobile homes. So real quick, a little bit about me. I'm from Plant City, Florida. Does anyone happen to know where Plant City, Florida is? Besides, I know Andy and Farrah have been in that area. Anyone else know where it's at?
No?
Nope. All right. It's not very often I get people. We are in between Tampa and Orlando. And we are the winter strawberry capital of the world. So you all out there have the strawberries for the summer, and we have them for the winter. And we're a little agriculture town. It's a picture of my family and I. I'm the middle child, the one in the blue and white there. And eventually I moved out. We stay at home for so long, and then we move out. And this is where I really started my investing career as a really bad tenant. These are a few of my eviction notices. These eviction notices are for parties mostly. We had spaghetti wrestling parties. We had mud wrestling parties. We had pudding wrestling. We did not get caught for the pool party that we had in the living room.
Show those files. Let's see this.
Don't rent to Adrian and his friends at 20 years old. That's the moral of the story. So we keep getting evicted, and I didn't realize this at the time, but we're problem solvers, right? As real estate investors. Well, I need to solve this problem, and I bought a house. Now, this is over 20 years ago when the banks just gave people houses. You signed on the dotted line, and they gave you a house, essentially. So then I moved all my friends in this house. Quickly realized why we were terrible tenants. And so I started understanding that side of it. What I did then, before the term house hacking was really there, I rented out the rooms to my friends, and I lived for free. At 20 years old, not with mom and dad, living for free is really, really cool. So then what do you think I did? Maybe a few years later, I'm like, can I just do this again? And the bank said, yeah, of course you can. Then they said, well, actually, you can do it again, but you're going to lose a little bit every month. But don't worry, real estate goes straight up. You'll refinance in a few years. A few years come along, and the market was going down. I lost my job. I was in event marketing, and big Fortune 500 companies are really smart, and they cut marketing back really fast in a recession. So I hadn't worked in 6 months. I was living in the house essentially for free, but still didn't have much money coming in. I didn't eat ramen noodles. I ate the Lipton noodle packets So those are like 90 cents with a can of tuna. So I wasn't as cheap as 25 cents or whatever it was, the ramen. I was high class poor. But this second house that I bought that I was losing a little bit every month, remember the price was going down, couldn't refinance. Well, I had that adjustable rate mortgage. So my payment was actually going up. I held on for a bit, and essentially I ended up selling it as a short sell or giving it up as a short sell for almost a 50% loss, which is a very big ding to your credit, ding to the ego, and then the biggest piece, it was a ding to my integrity because I did not pay my bills the way I said I was going to. That's the second house. The important part is I did not lose the first one because I bought it right and I was renting it right. I wasn't, at this point, I was actually making some money because, you know, rents go up over time. So we buy it right and renting it right. And I could have maybe even sold it right if I wanted to, right, and if I needed to, but I wasn't interested in selling it because I needed somewhere to live and I didn't want to go back to mom and dad. So I stuck with it there. Fast forward a few years, I bought some more houses with banks again, as that's all I knew. And then eventually, I finally stumbled into a RIA meeting. And that's where I found my first mobile home. And also at that point, I learned that banks may not have all the answers. Because before that's all I knew. So the real quick on my
Which was it?
I'm sorry?
Which one was it?
No, the very first one I went to was Tampa Bay RIA, TB RIA. But this mobile home here I found at Polk County RIA. So those are basically the opposite directions of Plant City. Plant City doesn't have a real estate group at all. We're too small for that for some reason. And I never wanted to start one. It's a lot of work to run behind the scenes that Rich does.
Yeah.
So then I'm at that meeting. I made some friends because for me, that's a huge part of the RIAs is you get to make friends and you're there visiting. And one night, Jessica comes up to me. She's like, Adrian, my broker has someone that needs to sell their mobile home. Would you be interested? At that time, I didn't understand mobile homes real well, except for most people I looked up to, the seasoned investors, the ones that been in the business longer than I've been alive. Maybe they have hair. If they do, it's silver and shiny. You know, those guys and girls in the back of the room, they don't need to be there, but they love it. They all mentioned mobile homes when I talked to them at some point, quietly. So I said, yeah, I'll go look at it because I was frustrated. I couldn't find any more deals that made sense to me. And remember, I had that short sale that was in the back of my head. It's always lingered there that made me a very conservative investor, which people don't usually think of with mobile homes, but it's conservative on the numbers. I'm now very conservative with my numbers going into an investment because I don't want to ever not be able to pay my bills again. So I got and look at this property. It's a 1965 single wide that you can see there. There's an addition to it. It's a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. It broke a lot of the rules. You walk in the bedroom to get to the other one. The septic tank is underneath the back porch. It's on 0.09 acres. But I was so, I'll say, frustrated at that time to find another deal. I said, you know what? I'm buying it. I'm going to spend the rest of our cash, $16,000 for the home and land, because no one else wanted these things. And I bought it, made some mistakes because I didn't have any real education on it. And we'll just say I have $20,000 in it. And then I quickly rented it for $475 a month. And you don't need to pull out Andy's calculator to know those numbers work. So what do next? You start going out and buying more mobile homes, right? I started buying more mobile homes. And since then, I have sold off all of my single family houses and bought mobile homes. So I focus on, like, my niche right now today is the home and land. So I'm in the single family world, but it just happens to be a mobile home. I've done the deals in the parks, but today I focus on the home and land together. And that is the business. I like to rent them long term. Do I do other things here and there? Yes. But my first personal filter is buy it and rent it for a really, really, really long time. So let's look at this deal here, Court Street. Farrah asked me to find one of my deals that I didn't need any money for. So I've done lots of those. I pulled up Court. This one, sorry, the picture is not brighter. I didn't used to take great pictures, honestly. It's too focused and getting all the work done. And now I look back and I wish I would have taken good pictures. So this is the 1960 single wide. So how do we find this property? We found it on Zillow. Not a lot of investors are looking on Zillow for mobile homes. And, we did the messaging back and forth, and then we went out and looked at it. The problems that need to be solved. So this is in Central Florida, by the way. Let me make sure I make that clear. I buy in the tight little spot in Central Florida. So this is a little north of Plant City, a little town called Zephyr Hills. And it's a big retiree area. So we go up there. It's a home and land. Looking at it, talking to them, asking the questions, why would you sell a nice home like this? Well, they need to move like that week to Denver, Colorado because of a job change. So they need to sell it really fast. So that is the true problem we were solving. They needed a certain amount of cash to get there moved right away. So then how do we finance it? Well, I called up a friend and said, hey, I've got a property that we're looking to buy. Do you want to put any of your lazy money to work? I have an opportunity for you to make some money. I wasn't trying to beg him for money. I was giving him the opportunity to put his money to work. And we'll go through all the numbers in a minute. But a friend financed it, not a bank, because the bank's not going to finance this one. But at this point, I was already moving over to not really caring for banks so much. The rehab was not a lot of work. We'll go through some pictures here in a second. I did decide before we go through the pictures, I was going to keep this as a lower end rental. So we have some lower end rentals, and then we have some that rent well above the affordable housing rate. Actually, we have some that rent for the exact same amount as the single family house down the street. So we have that class of homes, and then we have lower end, true low income affordable housing that we make them safe and livable, but not pretty. And that's one way we make a lot of money and keep it a lower rent. You don't really get both. If you fix it up real nice, we have to charge a little bit more, obviously. So that's like the population we're serving on this property. So the rehab, this is the kitchen. It is maybe a little ugly. You can look at here. We did take the dishwasher out. We fixed these cabinets. We did not replace any cabinets. They're uglier, but they work. The bathroom was actually already remodeled, and they did it well. So they tiled the whole bathroom there. We did have to put a new vanity in because they hadn't gotten to that part yet. So we did spend some money on a vanity. You can see the brown cabinets there. They don't match well. The refrigerator isn't fit in there perfect. You can't see real well from this picture, but that front door is a house front door. And the mobile home walls are actually thinner. So it does stick out a little bit. So again, it's not pretty, but it's functional. We could have gone through and fixed all this, but we decided, especially at this point, this was a big growth time of mine. I didn't have the money to go and fix it all up. I decided, all right, well, we'll rent it for a bit. When it comes vacant, I'll have some more money. We'll fix it and get higher rent on it. So those are some of the before pictures I could find. And then we put it for rent. And we put it for rent at $740 a month at that time. And that was a very fair amount. We had no problem filling it because it was a below market a little bit because we didn't have a perfect home for someone to move into. So here are the numbers. We bought it at $26,000. That was the purchase agreement amount. Closing costs, super low, $700. Because I'm not like most investors. I never offer to pay your closing costs. You can negotiate it out of me, but I didn't offer to pay the closing. So I didn't have to pay closing. I let other investors talk about that. And I also, by the way, I never use the word cash in any of my marketing because I don't want to pay cash. But every other investor talks about that. So when a seller truly needs cash and wants it, they have to negotiate that out of me. It's part of my negotiations. $2,200, that's all we spent on repairs. We didn't have, like I said, a lot of them. We kept it not as pretty, but functional. So our total amount in is $28,100. That's the total amount, and we borrowed $28,000. So sorry, Farrah, we have $900 into this one deal. You asked for money, but it's pretty close. We don't have $900, and we can't find it and borrow it from someone else. We're maybe shouldn't be investing just yet. So $900 out of pocket of my money. And we're making a net, so after taxes, insurance, the mortgage payment, everything, of $250 a month, which is a 333% return on our money.
Yeah.
You don't like a 333% return, I can't help you. I mean, I would do it for a 300%. Or maybe 100%, 33%. I mean, it's a really, really good return on our money. Why do we want a really good return on our money? So we can get to our goals even faster, so that we don't need as much money to get to our goals. And this time of my investing career, I was in mega growth mode. I didn't have money. So I didn't have the option to pay cash for this I would have had to use someone else's. So the cash on cash return is one of the biggest numbers I looked for at that time. Now, if we want a higher net rent, well, we have to borrow a little less money. So we get to play with that back and forth. But in growth mode, we're usually looking for a high cash on cash. And the current estimated value is over $65,000. So we have equity. And I was not looking for equity in this deal. I bought it based on cash flow. But mobile homes, people think they don't go up in value. They go up in value for multiple reasons. One very simple one in today's world is there's the demand for affordable housing. So it's simple supply and demand. People don't have somewhere to live, so now they're willing to pay a little bit more. Well, investors, we buy based on a return on our investment. People that want to live in the home, they buy based on what they can afford. So just those two alone, forget about appraisals or anything else. Those two reasons alone drive the prices up. Any questions right here on this deal? I mean, I know I went a little fast.
When was the 65? Is that today or is that 10 years ago?
No, that is today. So I bought, when did I buy that? I bought this one in 2019. And that's today. And when I run my numbers, I run very conservative because I always have that short sell in the back of my head. So I can probably sell it for 65 cash. So we know that if I sell it on payments or I take my time to sell it, I can sell it for much more than that. I run all my numbers very conservative because I'm never letting that short sale come back to me.
Adrian, I had a question. When you were talking about making your offers, and you said you don't offer cash, what does that look like when you're making the offer?
Well, my way of doing it, what they were asking $26,000. When they tell me they want $26,000, my answer is, yes, Farrah, I can do that if it's on payments. You see how awkward that long silence was? You just have to shut up. It's one of the hardest things for me to do.
And
So I
me?
ended up talking first. Yeah. Well, I talked before you, so I guess I lost that negotiation there. But that's the key, though, is you say, that's my term. Yes, if it's on payments. So I don't try to negotiate price. I give them price if they'll give me the payments. And we got to be quiet so that they can answer it. And typically, in my experience, if it's not an immediate no, they are willing to talk about it. So that's how I do it when it's an owner finance type of deal. That makes sense? Did I answer your question?
Yes, I'm taking notes.
Okay, I didn't know if I went off on a tangent because sometimes I go off in a different direction.
And just out loud, how much time do you have for questions? Because we probably take about 2 to 3 questions, or
Yeah.
Or you
Yeah, if people have got great questions like that, I've got time.
Scared them all to death, Adrian.
Said great questions.
So you only do on land, you don't do in parks?
So I've done some in parks, and those were really good for my growth time. I'll tell you my reasons, current reasons. I have 2 of them. I'm in Florida. Remember, we have those hurricanes. So if a hurricane wipes it out, I have lot rent. That doesn't overly excite me. And then the other thing is I bought in some pretty rough parks. So I start out in a pretty rough way. I did not buy I should have bought in a nicer parks. But I made a lot of money with those, a ton of money with those. Will I buy more in parks? Yeah, I will one day. Someone earlier this year wanted to sell me 10 of them in a park. So that got me interested. I don't say no to them. I'm just not hunting after them. But I don't say no to anything. I look at my numbers, and if they excite me, like the 333%, that makes sense on one in a park. So those are my reasons. I like the land being in Florida. It helps me sleep better at night with all of our hurricanes, because worst case, I still have some land. You don't have to worry about hurricanes, so it's a little different.
Adrian, how do you forecast or figure out what your rents are going to be for a particular park?
So there's all different formulas for rents. Honestly, today I know my market pretty well. I know that, let's go through a few different scenarios there. If it's an acre and a half, so let's go the bigger rent. How do I get the same amount of rent as the ranch single family house down the street in a HOA neighborhood? And let's just say that's $2,000 a month, which is good rent in Plant City. Well, that 3-bedroom, 2-bath in an HOA neighborhood, some people like it. Everyone mows their grass and it's pretty. But the handyman and handywoman, they don't like that because they have a utility trailer. They have a branded truck. They're not allowed to park it there. They don't want all of that. They want the half acre or maybe acre of land, because this is a rural area. No one's really doing this math, but they are paying for that fenced yard, or even a quarter acre of land. They're paying that HOA is not telling them, you can't park your utility trailer there. You can't have your rabbits and goats. So I like barn animals a lot. So there's like some freedom that comes with it for that person. So they're willing to pay a little bit more for that, because if not, they do have to store their utility trailer somewhere else. So that is one reason on the top end rent, we can get a little bit more, because they're paying for both of those. When it comes to, the one that, where are we at? This way. This one here, the $740 a month. I did look up comps the traditional way. I told you I'm pretty conservative, so I'm going to go on the lower end of all my rental comps. And if I can't find any mobile homes, sometimes we can find good mobile home comps. All right, if we can't find those, now we start looking, all right, what's a house, an apartment that looks to be the same quality? If I can't find anything the same quality, I'm just going to deduct some monthly rent. And honestly, I go a little bit by gut. I don't have a spreadsheet that does that for me. And if I'm really concerned, I've heard of people putting an ad on Craigslist back when that was more popular, which we actually still use Craigslist today. That just might say 3-bedroom, 2-bath, close to Walmart, for rent, $740 a month. And they look to see how many replies they get. And so I know some people will do that just to kind of gauge the market. Is there demand there or not? And then door knocking. So I have found out rents are higher than I even thought by just asking the neighbors. Sometimes I'll ask the seller. They'll tell you a lot of times, oh yeah, so-and-so down there is renting for this or that. Now the seller has a little bit of a skewed reason to tell you a higher number, but it's a direction. If they point down the road, we can go knock down the road. If you're in a park, you can ask the park manager or just drive around and look at the sign, the signs there. There's usually a small one somewhere in a big park that's for rent. So those are different ways. I don't necessarily do anything super special to find the rents. Today, like I said, I just know my rents. It's the benefit of being in one little market is you just start to learn what they are.
Did you consider borrowing like 33,900 so you could put 5,000 in your pocket?
I did not on this one, and honestly, I don't remember why I didn't. But yes, I've done many deals where I borrowed more money. I have left the closing with big checks, enough to cover all of my repairs, and still had some money. I've done, the exact amount. You got to remember though, more money you borrow, the smaller your cash flow is. So I do look at that back and forth. So a lot of times I borrow based on kind of how much cash I have. The last few years, I ended up borrowing way less than I could have because I had cash sitting in the bank, not doing anything, and I was too lazy to go put it to work on someone else's deal. I said, all right, well, I love my deal. I'll just put it to work there. Today, I don't have as much cash like sitting around for that, set for that. So when we just purchased one 3 weeks ago, I think it was $135,000. I borrowed $135,000, and I have to pay for closing and I have to pay for the repairs. So I could have borrowed a little bit more, but it was already making the cash flow a little thin. So you can, if you're using human beings, I mean, you can't just borrow unlimited because at some point it's not safe for your private money lender. But as long as it's safe for your private money lender, and a lot of them, for me, are looking at the cash flow. They want to make sure that I can pay them based on the cash flow, and then they will look at how much the property's worth.
Adrian, for your cost of money, are you refinancing out of it, or are you trying to keep that in a certain range? Because I know a lot of private money guys, I don't know how long they go with you, or you know what I mean, how long they keep it with you, or they want it out. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so that is actually something I focused a lot on in the last few years. So when you're newer to private money, typically you end up paying a little bit more. You just don't have as big of a track record. My first private money, I did the math, I paid a little over 18.5%. Won't get into it tonight. It was a performance-based note. So he got a share of the rent every month, and he ended up making 18.5%. I had $500 in a deal, making $220. I think it was $220 a month. So we both had an excellent deal. I had a 5-year balloon on that because exactly what you just said. He wants his money back. So in 5 years, I have options. Do I pay him off? And that's why I ended up paying that guy off. But I could have said, do you want to extend? This deal right here that we just went over, court, we are at that crossroad this minute. The balloon is due in November. Yeah, it's in November. Actually, so by the date of the class, I'll have the final answer here for you. And I emailed him and I gave him all different options. I said, look, we can continue this month to month. And so he's making about 12%, I think, on his money. I said, we can continue this month to month. My plan will be to pay you off the beginning of next year. Or we can extend it and guarantee you another 4 years, but you have to give me $10,000 more. And because this one is one of those performance-based, that's going to put him about an 9% return, because rents have gone up even more on this property. I think I want to say this is $1,150 a month now. We literally have it for rent, so we don't have the final numbers on it. It happened to also just come vacant at all at the same time. So first, we can go month to month, continuing what he's getting. Second,